So let's talk about athletics. And again, tomorrow when um, the javelin event happens, Neeraj Chopra will be throwing. And of course, today the decathlon will be rolling on. Sandeep, let's open with Swapna Burman and this Swapna Burman versus Nandini controversy. One does understand that Swapna might have a point, but when Nandini wins the bronze for India, I mean, it was a very sad day, very ugly scene when one Indian athlete makes a charge against another Indian athlete, that too on Chinese soil.
Yeah, I think it was a little, I mean, I wouldn't say surprising, but it was a little shocking that you're putting up something without any facts. At the end of the day, I think the rights lie with the AFI, it's with the IOA. They are the ones who select a team, they are the ones who send athletes. So the other point is that it also probably, I mean, will occur to everybody, even you probably would be thinking on the lines that if Swapna would have won a medal, let's assume she would have won a medal, would she have ever come out with these kind of allegations? I don't think so. So, and then you delete it off, but you've already created a huge amount of trouble. So, it's more than it's a very troubling thought for an athlete to think like this about another athlete with whom you've already been competing and training all this while.
She made a couple of points in the video which she deleted, and I just want to come back to that very quickly. So Swapna basically says that the short time in which Nandini trained, it is impossible for a female athlete to improve that drastically. That is point number one. Second is she says she had complained to the Athletics Federation of India, and she was advised that you complain to NADA and WADA, and only the doctors can take a stand. And third point is she made a very sad allegation that Nandini has fled the village when actually Nandini's mother was quite ill, and so she had to rush back to India. Your thoughts?
No, I think there's no scientific basis on what she said. It can't be proved that, it takes 30 days for a woman and it takes 1 day for a man. I don't buy that logic at all because training, skill, talent lie in a very different area. All of this lie in a very different area. So it's almost like saying boxing, the middleweight and the flyweight. The reason why the weight divisions are done is simply because with skill and talent, everything being equal, a little bit extra weight sometimes proves to be beneficial to the other boxer. So in a boxing scenario, those things are okay and agreed upon. But in a scenario like this where you're saying something that even getting into the scientific part of it, I think is baseless. I think it's just shop talk that you're putting up so that there could be some form of controversy. The AFI cannot refer it to the NADA or the WADA simply because when it came to Duti also, it was the AFI who came. So the AFI can come in if they want to, honestly. And it's pointless even giving it to the AFI because in the starting point or at the start point, it is the AFI who selects a team. More than anybody else, it's AFI who understands the athletes, knows whether there is anything like this or whether these allegations are true or not. The other point is that she went away the very next day of winning a medal. The AFI has also said that her mother was sick and that she has had tragedies in the family and she needed to go back because she needs to be with her own family. Fair enough. But what was not fair was allegations. You just can't
Yeah.
say these
Yes.
and then delete them and walk away.
I know we are always pressed for time and you have to rush to other events, so we'll try and keep this short and crisp. But I do want to come back to you on another topic on which you've done extensive study and writing, which is the transgender issue. I'll only hit one point, which is in March 2023, Lord Sebastian Coe, as in his position as head of the World Athletics Council, made this declaration that the testosterone level for transgender athletes should not drop under 2.5, if I am right. And second is that 13 athletes, including Caster Semenya, would not be able to compete till they change their testosterone levels before qualifying for the Paris Olympics. Your thoughts?
I think it is better to go with what Cass says. When I say better, I think it's the scientific way to go. I think World Athletics probably wants a level playing field where there's fairness in terms of who's running and whether they are, whether in a particular 1500, 800, I'm talking of Caster Semania's events, whether all the athletes are equal. athletes are on a level playing field or not, you know. So I think when it comes down to that, World Athletics it's doing its best to ensure that nobody is left out. At the same time, I think scientifically we do understand that some cases are borderline and some cases are extreme. And I think when it comes to the extreme part, the call lies with only two people. The call lies with the doctor who's with the team. The call lies with World Athletics, and they are the ones who are pushing the sport, promoting the sport. So I think they are the ones who take that call, and we should be actually understanding that call and moving ahead with these kind of issues or cases, if I may say that for an athlete.
Okay, let's move on now. But suffice to say and safe to say that Swapna Burman pushed all the wrong buttons, being under emotional distress. She shouldn't have done that. That too against another Indian athlete who has officially won a bronze medal in the heptathlon. But it was unfortunate. She deleted her
I
tweet.
just want to make one point. I just wanted to make one point is that the AFI should actually step in and should actually censure Swapna here. You know, something like you can't just say that it like the AFI yesterday said that okay, this is her private matter, what she does on the Twitter. No, I don't think so. When you are at the Asian Games, you're part of the national team. You can't be tweeting and all that. Even in jobs, you are made to sign a particular form where you're not supposed to be tweeting out stuff. I think the AFI needs to come in and either say that okay, I mean she's about to retire also, so it's pointless to say that ban her and all. But I think AFI needs to do these documentation. We are not allowed to do this. Otherwise, you're going to be banned from the sport for at least a year.
Right. Moving on to Jyoti Araji, the only point of contention here is that the way she was initially disqualified because the Chinese runner next to her, uh, she beat the gun and she was shown a red card. So was Jyoti Araji. Your thoughts on the initial disqualification and that important point that if she had been allowed, if she had been cleared in the first instance without this specter hanging on her head, that after you finish the race, we will decide, the referees will decide whether you are clear or not, that would have definitely impacted an athlete. Could she have won gold otherwise?
I think no. If you purely go by the timings, if you purely go by the top two Chinese athletes, Yaraji, in terms of just the personal best, seasons best, everything, would not have been the gold medal favorite. The Chinese were the gold medal favorite, and I think that's why so much of stuff came out, and so many of the 200, 300 Chinese journalists, you know, they were all in the mix zone trying to figure out what's happened, trying to speak to the two Chinese athletes. The simple rule is that once you have disqualified an athlete, it should be finished there and then. Whether you have to take them out, there is no way that you can linger on and say this. Okay, I'm in the right and you are in the wrong. Yes, Yaraji was in the right. The Chinese officials should have immediately disqualified the athlete. I think the shock of seeing one of their own, who's supposedly a medal favorite, and then trying to cover it up by showing another card to Yaraji because it was very clear. The Chinese athlete had got up. Yaraji was still there with her fingers on the track. And then she raises herself. That itself shows that the first one needs to be disqualified. And I think one point that needs to be made is that the stand that Yaraji took, I think will have a different kind of an impact on an Indian athlete, an Asian athlete, and a world athlete that you can stand up to a superpower.
Right.
And here China is the superpower. I think more than the silver that she was bumped up to, more than the bronze she initially won, I think the victory was, at least for me as a journalist, the victory was Yaraji standing up and saying, no, I am in the right and I'm not going to move away. I think that probably is going to have a larger impact on the morale of athletes.
Excellent point there. Moving on to long jump now, the magnificent Ansi Sojan, and we saw the entire event and how brilliantly she performed, won silver, and the much feted Shelly Singh, who was trained by Anju Bobby George's academy, and her husband just could not up the ante. And I also like the way Ansi backed Shelly Singh, really pumped her up. What do you think?
I think Ansi is a delight. At least in the interview, she was. Of course, she was jumping so well, and it's always good to have somebody who's probably not at the top of the billing chart to come up and suddenly do a great jump and win a silver at the Asian Games. It's not easy to win a long jump medal at an Asian Games. I think Shelly for her probably, and I I can only assume her looking at her body language, looking at the way she was jumping. I think it's the big stage that probably caught her. She's not been on this huge stage. For Ansi, I think being in the shadows has probably helped. Not being there among the media favorites, not being there among the top billing in terms of medals going to be won by Indian athletes, you never put Ansi out there. So I think all of that probably helped her to come out of the shadows and then do something where she was free. In a way, she was free that there's no pressure on me. I think Shaili buckled under the pressure because everybody said gold medal aega, Shaili is going to do this, Shaili is going to do that. She's a junior world champion, silver medalist. She's done this, she's gone to the world championships. So I think all of that probably got her. And you can see her. I mean, it's sad to see an athlete cry, honestly. But I think if you really look at Shaili and you look at the learning experience of athletes in the past, I think Shaili is going to take a lot more learning from here to be able to really do well in the future.
The 4x4 mixed relay, and I felt watching it purely as a viewer and as a fan, is that the last leg was run poorly, and yet we were upgraded, bumped up to silver because of the disqualification of the Sri Lankan team. What are the learnings there?
I think it's very simple. I think the pattern at which we put our runners, I think that probably was a little bit faulty. I think if if the last runner would have come in at number three or probably would have come in at number two, I think he would have still been able to have 3 meters or 2 meters gap and still been able to make it up. Of course, now we have a silver medal, but the mixed relay is popular now. I think this is where most of the AFI's focus is going to be on the relays, on the mixed relays. It's getting popular, but it's unfortunate because you don't see too many teams coming in. That's been a part of this Asian Games. You really don't see a lot of teams coming in to be able to do certain events much better. I think somewhere the Asian Games, the Olympic Council of Asia, and even other federations need to understand and say that okay, if you're not going to have 10, 12, 14, 15 athletes running a particular race, and I'm talking of long distance included, then it just becomes a very bad spectacle for everybody. You can't have six, seven people running and then trying to declare three out of them as gold, silver, and bronze. That doesn't show well on the continent itself across the world.
A quick word on Murli Srishankar and Harmilan Benz, who describes herself as the queen on Twitter or X, whatever you may call it.
No, she is the queen. I mean, she acts like the queen. She runs like a queen. I think lack of experience at the top level is probably the gap that you saw in the 1500 meters. I think if Harmilan Bains honestly goes off to an American university, probably trains abroad, gets a fantastic coach. She has the talent to be in the top six in the world. I'm not putting an Olympic podium her because for the Olympic podium, you really need a lot of other things than just pure talent. I think she is a top six athlete. She is a top eight athlete, and this is the time. I mean, she's seen how she can run. We have seen all of that. We're probably going to see her in the 800 meters now, which is her favorite event. And I think you're looking at a I wouldn't say a great super talent, but you're looking at a talent which can actually take a couple of steps ahead and come onto the podium. So I think what we are seeing now, and I hope it kind of comes out in the future and doesn't stop at the Asian Games level or at the continental level, and that she can take those extra steps and really go up.
लास्ट पॉइंट है कि कल नीरज चोपड़ा फिगर करेंगे और खतरा क्या उनको अरशद नदीम से है, ये मैं आपसे पूछना चाहूंगा। और दूसरी बात है कि आपसे बिना पूछे एक प्रोमो भी हमने बना दिया था जहां आप नीरज से मिले और आपने नीरज के शोल्डर को पैट करके कुछ उसके कान में कहा। क्या कहा आपने, क्या एडवाइस दिया?
नहीं, मैं कोई एडवाइस नहीं हम कौन है एडवाइस देने वाला। मैं बस यही पूछ रहा था कि everybody asks you this, that, everything, but nobody actually asks you your relationship with your coach. So he was speaking about that. He takes a lot of pressure off me. मैं उनके साथ कुछ भी बात कर सकता हूँ। अगर मेरा एक दिन खराब जा रहा है, मेरे कुछ थ्रोज नहीं ठीक हो रहे हैं, so I sit with him like normally like a mentor, but not like a coach in that sense, which is a very separate. And he asked me through a stressful period, unhappy with certain things. So he says like वो जो relationship बन जाता है, उससे मुझे help बहुत मिल जाती है कि वो मेरा बिना मेरे थ्रो को देख के उनको पता चल जाता है कि मुझे क्या है. So I was basically asking him about that because it's a very fascinating relationship. Such a young guy, and then you have somebody who's 75 almost. What apart from the coaching can a coach give is basically the biggest area that athletes learn from. Because coaching is something which comes textbook in a way. But after that and apart from that, can you really give something that an athlete can improve? Because there's so many areas one can add. He said कि नहीं वो जिस तरह से मेरे लिए basically he ended up just not saying it, but he said that he is my family on tour in a way. So I think that probably says a lot of it. Rest, Arshad Nadeem and Neeraj Chopra, I think the only person who can actually beat Chopra today, if you really look at world athletics in terms of javelin, Nadeem, and number two, which I think probably is going to play a huge part here tomorrow night, is the pressure. I think Chopra is coming off from a season where he's already probably feeling fulfilled, if you get the point I'm making.
Right,
World
right.
Championships gold medal, silver at the Diamond League final. So whether he's so fulfilled that he probably is not motivated enough, at least the 10-20% to go all the way. On the contrary, Nadeem will be motivated because for him, beating Chopra is the big thing. Olympic champion, world champion, all of that, and the Indo-Pak equation. So let's hope the pressure doesn't get to him and he can really do something in the first two throws and somehow get. But अगर 90 कर लिया तो फिर तो आप वर्ल्ड
Yeah.
कप क्रिकेट को थोड़ा तो साइड रखना पड़ेगा. मतलब then it is Chopra.
90 कर लिया तो पत्रकारों के पास कोई सवाल ही नहीं बचेगा. बेचारा थक चुका होगा, कान पक गए होंगे. 90 कब फेंकेंगे? मतलब जैसे सब्जी भाजी खरीदने कोई जा रहा है
नहीं, मेरे
तो
को
90.
लगता है उसको ज्यादा डर ये लगता है कि यार 90 हो गया तो फिर ये जो 1-1 देना पड़ता है ना, कि भाई हर पत्रकार को अपना एक्सक्लूसिव चाहिए, फिर वो एक्सक्लूसिव भी चलाएगा, फिर वो यही सवाल करेगा जो 10-15 सारे करेंगे. सो इट्स फैसिनेटिंग टू इवन सी the media interactions with Neeraj Chopra or for anybody else, which includes me also. I'm not keeping myself on the side, honestly. But it's sometimes it gets very tough. क्या पूछो क्या? अब और क्या रह गया except asking that, गर्लफ्रेंड कहीं छुपा के रखी है या क्या है? You want to ask that, but you can't ask that.
चलिए इसको रैप करते हैं. हमने कहा था आपसे कि 10 मिनट बात करेंगे, हम तो 17 मिनट पहुंच गए. इसके बाद हम लौटेंगे हॉकी को लेके और संदीप जी हमारे साथ मौजूद हैं, द गुरु ऑफ हॉकी. इससे बढ़िया डिस्कशन आपको कहाँ सुनने को मिलेगा. सो वील बी बैक विथ हॉकी.